Ahoy, Mark here, Action Figuratorium. As some of you may know, I am a studio owner, a toy photographer. I'm also a real big toy collector. And so on today's episode of Toy Talk, I would like to sort of get into the ramifications of third-party customizers and additional accessories makers within the toy industry. So it should be kind of cool. All right, so what I'm talking about is these additional small boutique artisanal companies, one-man, two-man, three-man sized small little manufacturing businesses which make toys and toy accessories and parts for the existing toy industry and toy collecting community. The two instances I'm going to look at are the guys who make toys for those Kenner retro vintage sort of line that is the original 78 to 85 Star Wars characters that Kenner made in the 3.75 scale. There are guys out there like Stan Solo, or the company that he started before Stan Solo, which was called Smith Lord Creations, which he sold off, and like another company called Trash Compactor. In fact, let's look at some of these. These guys pretty much exist as an Etsy shop at this point. These are guys who make accessories, maybe replacement parts, but they also make characters, and sometimes they make them, or used to make them, on card backs that looked like the original Kenner Star Wars style. And what these guys are doing is they're making very, very, very minor D-list characters that were in these movies that you saw maybe 5 seconds, maybe 10 seconds, just a shot of some sort of a droid in the background, and on like a shot of the Death Star, or one of the many droids in the Jawa crawler, or you know, just a super, super obscure extra. These guys are doing exactly that. They're making 5-point articulated Kenner style Star Wars figures that basically the people who hold the current license, that of Hasbro, these are figures that are not going to get made. So these are a extreme niche object, right? I don't know how much money this guy makes, but I think that he's probably such a small amount compared to like what toy companies make that ultimately it's not worth their legal team. And some say that maybe in some ways it's stuff like this that sort of keeps things fresh and going, and maybe they, although not legally can they do this, because once you find out if someone's stealing your trademark or intellectual property, you have to send a cease and desist, so they'll look the other way so as to not ever know about it. But maybe it's the kind of thing that they can kind of, big companies can kind of keep these little guys going by not shutting them down, because maybe they actually add value to their brand. That's just a big what if. Reality of the matter is probably lawyers will eat anything. It's just probably more expensive for a lawyer than it is to stop this guy. There's no real lost revenue, because if they wanted to make revenue off of any of this stuff, they could make their own weird characters. So what we're looking at is the Etsy page for Stan Solo. There's another vendor here named Trash Compactor who also makes these Star Wars figures, either replica guys or characters that never got an action figure. And is featured on other YouTube channels like Retro Blasting, they keep saying that these guys are really doing the best work, that they're coming up with the coolest figures based on the movies better than any of the people who actually hold the licenses. Okay, so we know about them, we know about these Star Wars figures, and we know like the small like niche that they fill in the marketplace. What prompted me to make this video is this recent sort of, I'm going to call it a press release. It's sort of I don't know, it's a blog update, but basically it's from this company called the Four Horsemen that I'm a huge fan of. Some say that if there's a cult of the Four Horsemen, I'm definitely in that cult. I always talk about the cult of HasLab, so it's funny to mention things that I myself might actually be kind of guilty of. And so this is the company that I love. These are some New Jersey toy makers who have made toys for a lot of major brands, but they make their own brand of toys that they call Mythic Legions. They're a bunch of sort of fantasy figures that exist in sort of all fantasy realms at any given time. And they recently put out this update on their page about guidelines for the third-party businesses that make parts, accessories, bits of armor, capes, all head sculpts, right? So other character heads, other body parts as well, probably. Painted, unpainted, 3D printed, maybe molded, that kind of thing. They put out guidelines for these guys because one of the things that they encourage is people to buy their figures, the Mythic Legions figures, and customize them, paint them, add something, take something away. They're also modular figures in that they come apart and you can mix and match. You can sort of make new guys, old guys out of something. You could kit bash a bunch of pieces off of a couple of guys and make something new. And so they encourage that kind of thing. And then of course, if you encourage that, you're going to get this sort of 3D printed community that's going to pop up as well. And they set out their guidelines, and they're actually pretty cool about it. They have some specific lines they don't want you to cross because they feel that it would be competing with their product. Also, they don't want you to use their specific intellectual property like different factions or different character names or different insignias that are theirs, because they don't want to create brand confusion in the market. Also, you would be trading on their name, on their work that they put in. You would be using that, so that is actually against the law. But their approach is actually very soft, very gentle-handed. It's kind of reminiscent of, you know, the Grateful Dead, when people used to go to the shows and they would all tape them. And they said, okay, you can tape them, just don't sell the tapes. Don't make a commercial product off of us. If people want to trade tapes, give them away, etc., that's fine. You can have the product, just don't sell the product. Feels kind of like that. Okay, so here's kind of my opinion. And I got this opinion originally from when these European guys would do their own World of Warcraft vanilla servers that were outside of the law for Blizzard to put out a cease and desist and shut them down from running rogue servers running their game on it. Even though for many, many years you couldn't play vanilla WoW, they had changed that game within the game with all these expansions. Every time they would do an update, it would change, and so you could never really go back. So the only way you could go back and play it. Eventually, Blizzard decided there was maybe a little bit of money on the table and re-released vanilla WoW. Some say it was prompted by them seeing the community that sprang up on these European servers. Either way, the idea I came up with how to best resolve that, and also how to apply it exactly to this, is very simple, is that these companies who have this intellectual property, in the case of Mythic Legion's Four Horsemen, let's say, what they need to do is they need to come out with a type of a partnership program. Any company can do this. It's going to take a bit of legal work on the front end, but once you've got your boilerplate, it's a machine that anyone can kind of run on the back end. And so what it is that if you're a third-party person, right, and give you an example of what we're talking about. So this is something called the Legions shop. This is different people. Here I'm going to click on artists so we can see who the people are. Here they are. Look at all these kids. Look at them, they're all crazy. Some of them have the Slayer shirt, if you know what I'm talking about. These are all people who make custom pieces that are interchangeable or work with the Mythic Legion's figures, and you know, their system of parts that go together, right? So these are the folk, and then here is their shop where you can buy stuff, and you can see that there's heads, new heads, so new character heads. You can get them unpainted, you can get them painted. There's weapons, bits of armor. There's apparently you can make a fox character. There's a head, there's a tail. I'm sure there's probably a cool cloak. There's the weird kind of dinosaur-headed guy. I think that's kind of cool. Here's a weird sort of moose skull or something. Anyways, this is all pretty cool stuff. And they also sell Mythic Legion's figures too, like secondhand used, as far as I can tell, unless they also probably, yeah, they're a shop that sells a pre-order too. So I mean, it's clearly that these guys, you know, work pretty closely with the Legion's, you know, the Four Horsemen's guys themselves, right? They're kind of an outlier, sort of a spot to send people to. In fact, I'm pretty sure I found out about this site from the Four Horsemen website. I think that was how I found a link to this. So it's not like they don't know these guys are existing, but they put out these guidelines that applies to all these guys. And so here's what I'm saying is that what they really need to do is come out with a standard sort of boilerplate license for anybody who wishes to participate, where they officially pay, you know, basically pay a tithe to Four Horsemen. And there's probably different packages that they could come out with. There's probably a bronze level, silver level, gold level, where, you know, it's just acknowledged that you are making figures that play nice with them. You agree to the terms of the guidelines on what you will and will not make. And maybe it's a one-time fee, maybe it's you pay them a little bit with each sale of each thing, that kind of thing. And then you could have another level up where you're allowed to have a brand that's allowed to put their logo on your website or on your packaging, like in association with or partnership with, that kind of thing. So real common in like a lot of businesses, especially in like software companies, that, you know, everyone's got a different project or a different product that comes together that makes a complete whole, a front end and a back end and sort of a middle. And so you could easily do that with any of these toy companies, any of these people who want to work with it. And that applies to the cats making the Star Wars stuff. There's no reason why whoever has the current ability to give out the license for Star Wars 3.75 figures, right? If it's Lucasfilm or maybe Hasbro or somebody manages it or has the rights to it for a certain year and that they themselves can pick or something like that. It could be just a matter of this is too complicated in terms of the legal terms, but overall what I'm thinking is whoever has the rights to it could come up with the exact same thing that would allow the Smith Lord creations, the Stand Solos, the Trash Compactors, all those guys to buy a license, buy an intellectual property license, become a sort of registered vendor, pay them money, right? Use their logo and put stuff out, you know, under their name and sell them all legally, and, you know, make sure that the big dogs get their cut, whatever, as long as they stay away. And if they do get some money, they probably have some type of way of reciprocating and sending traffic to their sites, you know, that kind of thing. Maybe they could upgrade out of an Etsy shop at that point. Maybe, who knows? They get a maybe a WordPress e-commerce add-on or something like that. But anyways, that's my thoughts on this episode of Toy Talk and third-party customs playing nice. Ultimately, I think it's just a licensing issue. I think they should really these companies should just come out and have a boilerplate license that people sign, pay a little bit of money, and then they're allowed to work freely. And a little bit of trade and traffic can go both ways. So with that, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.